Now, in a related development, the executive director for the African Center for Security and Counter-Terrorism, Emmanuel Cotin, is happy the youth have chosen the path of rule of law and not violence to press home their demands. He spoke with Issa Moni on News 360.
If you look at the Dagon issue per se, the causes are not structured in nature. They are of proximate in nature. Both the Abudus and the Andanis to come together for this kind of demonstration is quite unprecedented, and they need to be commended.
So who should they address? Where should they put, their problem?
To be very honest, they did a very remarkable thing today. You realize their petition is to the eminent chiefs who have been mandated to mediate in this conflict. And the eminent chiefs are headed by the king of the Ashanti Kingdom, His Eminence Otumfo Osetutu. And I'm so happy that they are choosing the rule of law over violence and to follow through the due process than petitioning government. I'm telling you, in the past, you realize petitions have always gone to government, and at the point, government that come and go were victimized one way or the other trying to resolve this issue. I think that the eminent chiefs should, as a matter of agency, address the petition. But what I think the eminent chiefs should also do is that, like we had in the Liberian situation, they should appeal to our mothers, women. I think if we have the critical mass of the youth and women together appealing to our fathers, we have a resounding peace in the state.
Now, away from that, the Public Utilities Workers Union PUW is demanding the shutdown of the Teshie Desalination Water Project. It alleged investigations indicate that Ghana Water Company spends 3 million cedis a month alone to pay electricity bills on the project without any benefits.
The agreement on the Teshie Desalination Water Project was signed in 2015 between government and Messrs. Befisa, a Spanish company. Messrs. Befisa was asked to convert the seawater into wholesome water for residents of Teshie and its environs. In the agreement, the Ghana Water Company was asked to bear all costs, including electricity, for the treatment plant. In 2016, GWCL made a negative cash inflow of 7.2 million cedis a month, but had to pay $23.7 million to the company. That year, GWCL paid $1.8 million, leaving outstanding debt of $13.9 million. In September 2017, the Ghana Water Company had to pay $12.9 million to Befisa, leaving a debt of $7.2 million. According to PUW, its investigations indicate that the Ghana Water Company pays capacity charge of $1.4 million monthly. This capacity charge is payable whether the plant is working or not, and it pays 3 million cedis monthly for power. PUW's investigations further point out that Ghana Water Company buys water from the plant at 6 cedis 50 pesos per cubic meter and sells to PURC at 1 cedi 50 pesos. It revealed that every water purchased and sold, Ghana Water pays 5 cedis.
We don't want a situation where such arrangements, which are more or less foisted on the management, and then over time it contributes to so many losses, and then somebody will one day sit up and say that, oh, this company is inefficient, let's give it to a private operator. Let's do the right things now.
PUW has again implored government to consider shutting the plant and abrogate the contract.
When the plant is shut down, it's far better for GWCL than when the plant is operating, because every month, in addition to these other obligations, if the plant is operating, Ghana Water Company has to pay the electricity bill for the operation of this plant.
Meanwhile, PUW has called on government to ensure the reduction in electricity bills announced in the 2018 budget do not collapse the utility companies.
If this reduction is going to compound the situation whereby the company is going to incur more losses as a result of not being able to cover certain key cost components, then I don't think it's going to help anybody at the end of the day.
Now to some trending issues. Drama unfolded at a press conference held to question the authenticity of the Ghana Post GPS system when two deputy communication ministers gate-crashed the conference, insisting to present a counter-argument to the press. The Coalition for Democratic Governance said the system is a scam, but the government officials rejected the claim.
The Coalition for Democratic Governance said the Ghana Post GPS is a copycat of an app on Google Play called Asase GPS, which is owned by Vocacom. It said every information available on the Asase GPS is available on the Ghana Post GPS. It also said information by government that the services of Ghana Post GPS are unique for Ghana is false, and that a website called plus.codes offers exactly the same services for free. He demonstrated how it works.
So if I go to plus.codes on my phone, it's showing me where I am, okay? It's showing me a blue dot. If you see the same thing, you can try it. Now you see a blue dot on your phone. Take your finger, tap on the blue dot. If you tap on the blue dot, it gives you a digital address. This is your digital address. It's available already. You don't need to download anything. If you have this code made available for you, if you are a responsible government, if you are a responsible country, what you do is that you take advantage of it because it is there for us for use for free.
He said there is no need to have a digital address system, but government must focus on developing our physical address system.
If I am living in this house, it is the government's duty to tell you your address. It is not the other way around. Which country do you go to? The government tells the people, you know what, I'm handicapped, I can't come to your place and address. You just stay in your home, tell me your address. It is not done.
While the organizers were at it, the two uninvited deputy communications ministers, George Anda and Vincent Soa, accompanied by the managing director of Ghana Post, the head of cybersecurity, and the director of NITA, waited with bated breath. Suddenly, there was an uneasy calm as the Deputy Minister of Communications, George Anda, endeavored to provide answers to issues raised by the Coalition for Democratic Governance.
No. Listen. Wait. Listen. You have given your side of the story. If you don't want me to give you what the truth is, then tell me to go and sit down. No. Listen. If you don't want me to give the government side of the story, so that the journalists that are here can be better informed, then tell me to go sit down. No.
He said the allegation that Vocacom is owing in taxes is not true, adding they have paid their taxes as at March 2017.
This is the tax clearance certificate for Vocacom, issued in March 2017. So it's a total lie that you come and say that this company is not tax compliant.
The seeming gate crashing by the ministers and officials disrupted the press conference as journalists followed them outside to seek more answers.
Maps gives you longitude and latitudes. There was some illustration that the gentleman did in the room. It gave you some numbers. It didn't give you your digital address with postcodes.
And now to other stories. The president of the Ghana Journalists Association, Afel Money, has urged journalists to prioritize their health. He said the nature of media work is demanding. He was speaking to TV3 at the memorial service of the late Kwadwo Asare Bafo Echampong, popularly known as Kaba, here in Accra.
There's empirical evidence that every journalist at 30-something is stressed out because of the nature of our work. Our job imposes pressure. We have incessant deadlines to beat. We have programs to review. Even in the face of deep-set fatigue, we are obliged to render peak performance. So all this imposes pressure on us. So it will take the grace of God, indeed it takes the grace of God to sustain some of us in this business. But the point should be articulated that we need to be alive to do our job. And this reinforces the need for every journalist to prioritize his or her health issues and needs.
Now, the President of the Republic of Ghana, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, has held bilateral talks with the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Theresa May. The meeting was to strengthen the ties of cooperation between the two countries and move the bilateral relations to a point beyond aid.
The pair also discussed issues bordering on next year's Commonwealth Summit as preparations for the summit intensify. Prime Minister Theresa May told President Akufo-Addo that she and the people of the UK were looking forward to build a sound relationship and also developing historic ties with Ghana for the next 60 years. She indicated that increasing the volumes of trade between the two countries was the key to boosting the growth, progress, and prosperity of the two countries and their respective populations. She was hopeful that during her tenure of office, the UK will continue to build on the strong relationship we have with Ghana. President Akufo-Addo noted the strong relationship between the two countries have existed regardless of the government of the day, and assured Prime Minister Theresa May that under his leadership as President of Ghana, the already strong relationship will continue.
Now, construction work on a $422 million container terminal at the Takoradi port is billed to commence by February 2018. The on-dock terminal is expected to increase the port's capacity to handle 1 million 20-foot equivalent units and shore up the cargo throughout at the harbour.
The project will scale up trade and cargo throughput, will increase from 63,000 20-footer equivalent unit to 1 million. The move to develop and operate a multi-purpose container terminal will also open up the port community and position the port to be a preferred business destination.
The need immediately was to move the container terminal from within the port to outside. So EBSTEC was required to develop an ICD, that is an inland clearing depot outside the port. That is the reason why they've also been given the concession to develop the on-dock terminal, which will directly feed the inland clearing depot so that there will be a seamless operation when it comes to cargo handling.
But the African Development Bank will have the first tranche of $106 million released, with the rest of $326 million at a later phase. Contractors, IBSTEC, are looking for possible ways of partnering with the UK firms to develop a waterfront at the port. The British High Commissioner to Ghana, Ian Walker, led a trade delegation to also visit the site and to explore how the port development project could promote trade between Ghana and the United Kingdom.
We want to work with Ghana. We are long-term partners of Ghana. And here in Takoradi, you see a long UK-Ghana history, actually, where the Brits were involved in the initial development of the port, the initial work on the rail. And I think for me, you know, we talk often about the common values, the common interests that Ghana and the UK have had.
I think that the changes that have been made to digitise, computerise and make transactions in the ports based on direct bank transactions, I think that's a really good move, and I think it bodes well for the future.
And on to the education sector, basic schools in the Gomwa East District of the Central Region continue to battle with infrastructure, leading to overcrowding in some classrooms. Now, Lucy Ayambela reports some of the pupils have no choice but to sit on the bare floor to learn.
Most basic schools in the Gomwa East District of the Central Region lack adequate classrooms to accommodate the growing student population. At the Gomwa Aboso Benso DA A Model Junior High, the JHS 3 class accommodates 88 students, whereas the least is 52 students in JHS 1. A situation the headmaster, Moses Kweku Aziati, says is impacting negatively on teaching and learning.
When the teacher is in front of the class, teaching, those at the far back misbehave. And that misbehavior affects the whole class. And also, because of the large population, the teacher cannot have individual attention of the children, which affects performance seriously at the end.
The situation is worse at the Aboso Zion Basic School, where some of the primary classes accommodate over 90 pupils. This, according to some teachers, is a threat to the health of pupils, as children often complain of heat. The news team chanced on primary 4 pupils who sit on the bare floor to learn. In other classes, students have to make do with broken down chairs. Having individual attention and access to textbooks is a difficulty considering the large class size. Classes are disrupted anytime it rains. Ernest Asante Boabeng is a teacher at the Aboso Zion Basic School.
It is overwhelming, and definitely, how do you handle? You can't pay individual attention to children because you might have slow learners and then fast learners. Some are very slow. So definitely, you have to pay attention to everyone. But looking at the numbers, very, very difficult.
The District Chief Executive for Gomua East, Benjamin Otu, says the Assembly is working at addressing the problem of overcrowding in classrooms. He appealed for support from benevolent organizations to supplement government's effort.
And now the weather forecast for the next few hours.
It is brought to you by
All right, so that's all for morning news here on TV3. I am Solace Rose Corte. Keep watching because New Day returns shortly after this.
Welcome back. It's headlines time, and we'll start off with the finder. It says one district, one factory gets 200 million Ghana cedis ADB support. And that's the MD of ADB, Dr. John Kofi Mensah. Also, Asante Hine calls for benchmarks for determining judicial performance. Then 137 senior immigration officers have been promoted. Also, Prime Minister says UK will strengthen trade relations with Ghana. And there's an insert of our president with Theresa May. Also, finally, CocoaPod CEO says don't give your farms to Galamsey operators. That's a story on the finder.
So after the $100 million that was given to or made accessible to government by the UMB Bank,
Right.
ADB is added on to it. So it means that then we don't lack funds.
Right.
Okay. What's the nature of these funds? Is it for loans, or so you come and assess it at what rate?
I'm sure.
You know, how soft is it going to be? Because we've been told that there's a private sector that will have to push this whole one district, one factory agenda. So, but if I have to go and start a factory, and that will feed into a certain political campaign or fulfillment of a political campaign, or will help the nation, and yet the interest rate on the loans are neck-breaking, how do I go and assess them?
Maybe in this situation, I'm sure the bank will keep the money, and once your proposal has come to them and they have taken a closer look at it and are satisfied that indeed it's a good one, you won't find it tough accessing the money. So I don't think it will be.
It's not about the access. So I'm saying that
the loan,
UMB earlier had given some $100 million. We saw the story.
Right.
Now, that $100 million, how many of it has been assessed? Nobody has told us.
Well, we don't
Do we
know.
have a one district, one factory secretariat? Nobody has said anything that, of the 100 million that UMB earmarked and said that you could have, and this is how much we have been able to disburse. These are the applications that we have gotten, and we have considered A, B, C, D, and so we have given it up. All we get to know that we have 91 of them, of these factories that are built to start, but nobody's explaining anything. Now ADB has come to add on and says we're also making funds available. I'm saying that if I have an interest, say my father had or had a 6-acre plot somewhere around Latebi Okoshi, and I want to start up a biscuit factory to help this whole one district one factory. Where do I go? How do I get it? How soft will the loan be? Will I be better off walking in myself and not to necessarily tag my factory, the one district one factory, and to do it on my own and maybe get Bright and you to invest into it so that we can push it? What's the difference?
Certainly, but I mean, UMB did mention that they were going to have designated branches or desks that you send your proposals to, they'll scrutinize. I'm sure they're doing this in tandem with the, you know, one district, one factory committee or whatever is set up to regulate this. Also, ADB said the same thing, that they're going to open branches across, and so people would come with your proposal, they'll scrutinize it, and certainly with the loans or the interest that would be put on it. We were assured that these interests were going to be, you know, at the minimum, that will encourage people to actually venture. Because what would be the sense in asking a private partner and then making them give high interest rates that then government could have done it on their own if that was the point. But certainly the main aim of bringing them is to be able to balance the sheet so everyone can come on board. So I'm sure it's to net to the benefit. But certainly your questions, we need to know the breakdowns.
The minimum interest is more than 20% as we speak. So that if I will still come to you and I will still pay 20, 25, maybe 30, whatever percent, then really it doesn't really add up. I would have rather gone privately and gone to do it. I'm saying also that information is very critical. To the extent that, yes, the banks have said they will create desks and create branches to give off these monies. We won't know unless the Secretariat comes to tell us what they're doing. So then the question comes, what is the Secretariat doing? Is it just
the one district, one
exactly? What are they doing? Because information flow is very important. So at least we can monitor the progress of, you know, especially when the right to information bill is still being
John, I think this money won't go with the same interest rate as on the open market. I'm sure they'll have a fine way of dealing with it, getting people to take it at a rate that they can, because I know to take a loan and go into capital investment is quite a risky thing there. So we'll see what happens.
And you know, as soon as and you see, regular loans, once you pick regular loans, there's a time frame and all of that. But this is a factory. So if you do not already have the infrastructure, you're not going to try and set up, try and do feasibility studies and all of that. So obviously you need more time in trying to put this up. Unless, of course, government says these are people who already have some bit of factory and would help you with the funds to expand your operations. But if you're going to start from scratch and they are taking the same loans, we know how the banks are vigorous in trying to collect their loans, especially knowing full well that there are a lot of non-performing loans around the place. So these are the questions that we would like the One District, One Factory Secretariat to respond to, so that people who want to join in the whole fray can be part of it. Good morning to you, Director of the Secretariat.
But the Asante has been talking about the judicial performance, and he even slammed Delta Force judgment, saying that there should be benchmarks. And I certainly understand or agree with him, because how is it that someone who steals goat is asked to pay 5,000 cedis as a fine, also serves jail term, and then someone who enters a courtroom and, you know, abuses the power thereof is also given just 1,800 and jail term? It doesn't gel. So, I mean, the question is, what are you using to determine what sentence to met out to someone? How grave should it be? At least let me understand that all thieves will be asked to pay around the same sum, also serve around the same term. But if you enter a court and you breach the rules, you would, you know, otherwise then it's subject to...
You know, the other time I had Justice Cheba for here, I asked him this question. And for example, I asked him about custodial sentences. We pick people and we put them in the same prisons that we say are choked. And then he says, well, until the laws are fixed, you can't, the judge cannot use his or her mind to say that, oh, as for Bright, the prisons are choked, so let him go and weed Accra Sports Stadium. They can't do that. The laws would have to be amended to fit in. Now, we've also been told that the law is in the bosom of the judge, so that if it is a misdemeanor or whatever it is that per the Criminal Code 1960, they look at it, and then the prescriptions are there. What the cap, there's a minimum and there's a cap, a maximum, or a ceiling of what punishment. In between that, the judge has the leave and license to determine what you get and what you do not get. But Otumfuo has raised a very, very strategic point that, look, sometimes we're told that we punish the small thieves and then we praise the bigger thieves for whatever it means. It could mean a lot of things anyway. I think that it's time the judiciary, the Chief Justice herself, looks at this again. Again, because it doesn't, and they can't do it only only them. Parliament will also have to, look at it, because some of the laws emanate from Parliament actually.
Johnny, what I would say to this issue is, look, the Minister of Justice and the Attorney General and all those who are interested in our judicial system should be very careful. You see, we are the users of the court. So what we say, okay, either shows up confidence in the judiciary or it does the opposite. Right. Now, the very day this sentence was passed, I never heard any commentator suggesting that what has happened was right. Everyone that I spoke to openly said that this is a slap on the wrist, if you want to put it, okay? So if people are complaining that what happened to the Delta Force is indeed not right, the system will need to clean itself. The users are those who can evaluate the system better. They can tell us if indeed the system is right or not. If the users are complaining, my word to those interested is that they need to take a look at the system again. Certainly. As long as the users are complaining, then there's something wrong with the system.
Certainly. And I mean, I'm happy it comes from a deep-throated voice like the Otumfuo. Otumfuo, good morning, and thank you very much for this. May you live long, my king. I hope that we do something about it, because it's not the very first time. Sometimes you find somebody who goes to somebody's car, maybe the tail light, and then the person is kept more than even 48 hours at the Kandishi police station, and then eventually they take them to the circuit court, whichever it is, and then they go some 1 month, 3 months, or 1 full year, and then they wonder, okay, then another person does something else, and then they say, "Oh, come and pay the money."
And I think it's really the system. One thing I've come to understand, or one thing I've noticed that I question is why the police, let's say if I'm a policewoman and I arrest Bright for whatever offense, then he becomes my case. I have to handle him. If Bright is sick, it is my problem. Yes. If Bright has to be moved, it is my problem. So if I go on leave, Bright's case is on leave. And I feel there is a lapse there because it's a unit. You're working as a team. It certainly cannot be one person's duty, because then if I feel tired handling Bright, I'm either going to let him off, or I'm going to say, let's bundle him to Nsawam or bundle him to some prison where I can have my peace of mind, because I'm tired of handling him. But if we had the process working and we're all a team, we'd all want to fast track or make sure he goes through the right processes and then justice is served. But I don't, anyway.
That's the reason. I could give you a catalogue of murder cases that have been left to go. You remember Openyada Day? You remember Peter Kojo Kenyesu? You remember Roger Kumsing? So many of them. And you'll be told that, well, the CID on the case or the investigator on the case is either being transferred, is on leave, and sometimes they pick the docket for you. It's empty. It's an empty folder. So what you say is absolutely right. Where you have even the arresting officer, and I don't know too much about this, but I don't think that the arresting officer, will still be the investigator or the prosecutor, whichever it is. Sometimes, and you look at our population and the number of police personnel or security personnel we have. The statistics show that we have 1 to more than 1,000 people. But we're supposed to have 1 to less than even 500. So then if you are putting that one person in charge of all those cases, How do you expect the person to do that? And also to be able to do other duties that they assign to him or her.
Certainly.
We are overburdening our people, and it's not funny.
We'll
see. Justice delivery is not just the court to arresting people and taking them to the court. It starts from somewhere, and we don't need to be telling people what justice delivery is. People know their job, and so we expect them to do it.
It's time to run.
Yes,
so
we will
free
run.
SHS and CHAS. They're speaking to the fact that some fans have not been released, or if it has been released, as government says, well, they haven't received it. And it's causing issues for them to handle the first years, because they're having to borrow monies from those who are in second years and third years to take care of those who have just been enrolled.
You see the pictures.
I'm looking at some pictures.
Right. Pictures.
Quite worrying. Very, very, very worrying pictures. And
maybe you show it to the camera, right?
I don't know if the camera can come, but these are some pictures of...
And some of these pictures have been making the rounds on social media. Children sitting on the bare floor, you know, and these are secondary school pictures. These are not the regular table basic school pictures that we'll bring to you. And so that's the reality on the ground. You heard that there was one story we did where the woman, I think a municipal director, she said, well, she has the money in the account, but she has not been told what to do with the money. And so she can't touch it. Because as soon as you touch the money, you will get problems.
You have to answer.
Johnny,
I think the bureaucracy is too much.
My worry is not these challenges we knew we were going to face them. In fact, the president has even acknowledged that these are challenges we'll find because of the large numbers and the fact that the infrastructure deficit is huge. So it is not a worry. If we don't react to this, then it is a worry. My worry is what the president of CHAS, the Conference of Heads of Senior High Schools, Secondary Schools, told us that headmasters and headmistresses are afraid of being victimized and sanctioned, and so they are not letting out these things. That's my worry. Okay? So it means that they have these conditions. Because of fear of being sanctioned, they are going to find a way to deal with them on their own, and that could be disastrous. If you take a student through this for 3 years without saying it, you try anytime you have officials around, you try and cover it. And 3 years, and a student passes out, what is the quality of education he or she is going to get? So for me, my worry is not what we're seeing. My worry is that these heads are afraid of being sanctioned and are not talking. It is not good.
But you know,
it is a danger.
It's not good, but then on the back of the fact that the La Presec, you know, situation, the headmaster was sent off, punished for speaking the truth. When the question I've been asking is, look, ever since it came to light that the man or the woman actually spoke the truth, has she been reinstated?
No, he's not. I think the last check is
so you sack the person for speaking the truth, and the truth is this.
And we're told that some desks have been taken to the school.
Exactly. Somebody donated, McDan Shipping donated some. So she spoke the truth, and then you sacked the person. You found out it is the truth. Have you reinstated and apologized to her? No. You have not done that. So we are causing, I mean, I'm saying that these political actors and political proponents are the main cause of these things. Because it is a political thing, everybody wants somebody to toe that line. And if you listen to communicators, government communicators, and those in opposition, you find that the government communicators are supporting the thing. If as soon as you mention, say, oh, and Nkolano did define, then the others will also say, Nkolano did define. What are we doing to ourselves? Must we politicize every single thing? The free SHS thing is a good policy, but we need to get it right. And in getting it right, we need to allow the headmasters to speak up.
Exactly. That's
Look, if you're a headmaster of a school, and for 2 whole terms, your subventions have not come in for you to be able to cook food for the students, and they are boarders, how do you take care of them?
And you know, Mrs. Kwache Kofi actually spoke because she's handing over as the president of CHAS to another person.
So she can't be held up.
Yes, she had a gut to say it, else she wouldn't have said it whilst in office.
But that's a shame.
For me, that's where the danger is for me.
Anyway.
All right.
We've ranted enough. Let's hear what the people on the street have to say for Daily Rant.
We are free months into the free SHS program, and a concern coming from a major stakeholder, that is the Conference of Heads of Assisted Secondary School Trusts, is that payment of school fees by continuing students is very difficult, and for them, they feel they are part of Ghana and should benefit from that policy. And a GS policy also ensures that no student is sacked for non-payment of school fees. The question is, are we not running down quality education in Ghana? This is Daily Rant. Let's keep talking.
Obenya first year no best started one. Omo do almost started. Who 2 or 3 nkan ho. Ti ehwe bibia wo nursing training o kire omo say omo best year no mo wo mu no. Omo no mo start ajala once. One chance from 3 no mo kan ho. Mo kan ho. Sana de sema say na ebe ba no si free SHS na start 1 for no mo start no. Eti e ka bi ko
2 ni tre mo Ghana for.
Omo nya Ghana ne bo hye no. Omo ye Ghana for bo anfo mo bo hye na anfa anko mo so. O se 1. When we so better 4 years, so we'll be start 1 now. 1 or better first year, second year, third year, to Nanado can say or started first SHS no 2 hours from 3. Or catch almost say,
and that's what we do. And that is on Ghana for Togo.
Ghana for
Wakasa maminka sabi omun fi Togo the bani wotu ne bani ni wan the ntia na ni da so se wonso obenjo bi anti otu mi ka kwasa la to abama no sesi a ne bani wotu no wanza nkotwe ne mla wai ho no ma no wanzo woni sika bia sesi wanzo wanye de ne bani
there will be insurance ne start here ye wo yes bi ade insurance ne start here empo ye ma me no ye na na no mo anyina kwa animu no e wo yes bi omo so nya omo chafa wo
okay onyankopon se obo soro first and san obo asase what you say nyankopon bo soro first nyankopon otumi san ko free nipa na aduane nyina afutu be nyame anya ne saa odi nansia ne bo wiase no de da kore den ehun me enti wo hwe ye nipa kora nyame bo aduane ansa no eden obo nipa what you say enti empanifo so ka say wo fiti prekopa osia moja eden ebeba enti de menua ba na ka no we right na na ka say or best start every form na beba form 1 no nchira say wo form 2 form 3 no wa anya bia no nchira say wonya Ghana ni because bia no gradually
the Conference of Heads of assisted secondary schools and they complain about and a GS policy no obi the school is empamo no what is school when school fees can we know in the school
they all can say esa emraya adwuma what you say school authorities omoma mranya adwuma because aban ne say was started from form 1 one can so started from form 2 form 3 form 1 can say and to form 2 to form 3 na so ntua sika dia ese pamo wa ko
yentimi pamo odi ka school fees pamo GS policy pamo
school fees what dey say what dey ka school fees e bia watua bi na bi wo ho eno ne pamo na what dey first time ni nyina am beto watua sika dia ese tim pamo
me pa GS policy odi school fees
me pa wo mo wo school mu dada a wo be wi ana wo form 2 ana say form 3 no wo betumi adi nana ho yawo wo ni nana ho yawo wo de wo nim say wo wo school mu dada but wo ka kura no a wo ka entia bebre
okay na me ka so wo say about the secondary school operations the school fees there and the share school and the was social government scanner the bomb a chance na eba nti ebi wa ye be hwia scale fees form 2 form 3 for na there and I school no man no mo so scanner so ba
you are one who go to Nana Beban. You know to snow quatre. Obia ni muse Bosha, her Bible cracker say, Bosha, Washa Bonu and Sweet Yamala. See a washer, one say, wine for a free 2 for any treco, and cannot Nashadian or Shan. From one boy, it's me, Munison, and also more cancer, maybe one when that's also preparation wine. We do 2 Trobasham. We do Trobasham, one can try to jaw from one more apple from one going. Sana nursing training was shining my son. Where do you answer me to say nursing training? A binum show teachers for no. Even my Melassa, woman, or Monsieur and Yala once. Exactly. And you are more than what kind of quan be so? One on the bus was shining. I don't know. It is what means me drunk as a bow 2 on 12 my 2 men people. I am mass sisters na netwem school fees me pa trust papa na ni su a kombo bonus to bo ba wadi su dia me he said wo kan na
mama de message ka je say mama yan tutu ne ma nyina ba ko said ye papa gina ko tu ko teji say ye fi Genesis yankopɔ bo so ne asase wo kan na ma edi eti munim sa na mama ka say mama yan si dan nwie yan tutu ne ma nwie ansa ne ya che Fred Keja say nam say no yemfa bum ko ye wo ye wie ase ye de start one na mo maka no mfi Togo
nyane kwan mama kasa nyane kwan no asemo wasi papa John Mama the former president say yensi school there school no see no kura boarding kan and the school from one school so ikro man chusu ba kokora sa school so nyina sisi wiro ma aka boarding kan sanko si boarding o si 5 per kura na boarding kan ho a nka be peke nkura no
na en show school fees and collect person schools be go because
fees o mo person mu tua na de animra kwan so
omo so ya Ghana for o man tua no so mo so mo tua
asema mo kan so say na form one for nkwa na favor on the omo tua school fees no enya mra kwan kura na de o mfa nto nchen because ene ko obi a wa wie school last year kura no ko beka to kwa gini sika ono so ya Ghana ni bibia no start from baby and sana ko wie baby
ye di bibia ya politics eni me bu on so kanya politics obi di free na mble enti yen hwehwe mu ne ye de ye kwaso eti wuti fie na wo se form 2 wa tua form 1 wo be tua form 2 tua form 3 enti wo be ma school a unko school a wo na wo ha wo
many abana ka say sa free education we enya politics because who call obey form 1 ya yan churo mo anim se we yan DC ni e na obi ko form yan churo mo anim se we yan DC ni who call ya na em say favor obia wo Ghana bia sa me bakura nya sa opportunity no me ba oh sa me bakura nya opportunity ko form 1 ya minia bi ba be den e benya form 1 ya den akọ favor no minia bi ba bi wa kura ase wanya bi ya den akọ Some me na akọ from 2 a me timi ka say no ntimi 12 school fees so ka say 12 school fees a oba na odi na bro
in favor obia say dey wo kan
favor obia dey wo kan obia
because omo mo tu ni train omo so ya Ghana for mo mfi Togo
na yana awie dada so ya Ghana for
wo si why dey wawie unko school you know what school now no oya we no school fees in the omo ntwa ne
dansie kura no dansie kura no yedika tu foundation ubekọ na obi atu foundation ato obosom be me ensansa na kogu concrete e bibia ye nkakra wotumi mfa ni nyina mom sika be no de betu ankora no hoka so to offer the whole Ghana from form 1 to form 3 sika be pa no de betu ankora
I mean I say like your South African policy kasa ba ho tuma dey na be ya e be my parents at here say yeah
ni party de obeye bi ya ha obeka wo and the yes na ye wono so ade e kire ne say nyina amafo wo ebi no so ewo e ya ka ne enkwala so den foforo ko school nti omo ko school no se obawie school na se oba foforo bi wakra mekans nim nipa bi no so na omo mamo na enjoy ye dede nyina achi kra ye nimba nti no de ye nyina ye Ghana fo nti ye se ye kro na ebu anana no nipa ne doso nti kakra no be den obeche nti so ka se SS no obetimi ahwa akopem fon wa na munya no na wo fon no so fon tu no fon tere no mo so munye den omo fa sa aka no
mami kasabi tawo bisa akasa bebe aba ho efiri nhyehyɛ na mode ba ye ne nhyehyɛ pa edi enti ne nipa no
free nhyehyɛ
nhyehyɛ papa oh nhyehyɛ pa ade papa
na fa na
ade enti na akasa nhyehyɛ pa wona anya no wano
me na me ma no ade enti na nhyehyɛ me dan ma no me
ebi onu ni feelings no
me choose nhyehyɛ ade boni o ade papa
wo se nhyehyɛ pa na ukan
me na me se me na ne ma no because me ntitwi akwa omo fa so do ade enti na
busa se nhyehyɛ pa na
nhyehyɛ pa
busa ona busa se nhyehyɛ pa
nhyehyɛ pa akwa be no mfa so mo nhyehyɛ ma na nhyehyɛ pa eno na mpesa omo ti ase.
Well, the public have made their concerns clear and they are worried though, and they want the students to continue paying their fees at the Form 2 and Form 3 students. But they are calling on government to ensure that they pay grants on time to ensure operations at these secondary schools are are effective. Let's know what you also think about this. Log on to our social media platforms. On Facebook as News on TV3 and on Twitter as on News TV3. It came to you from 37 Lorry Station here at Accra. Thanks for watching. This is what
The Finder starts the morning and says one district, one factory gets 200 million cedis ADB support. That's the big one on the Finder. Daily Graphic rush for police recruitment forms and then use relevant channels to address challenges. Ghana Education Service there. The Palava says Akufo-Addo gives 2 billion cedis to his office, blows 122.8 million cedis on 1,782 Flagstaff House boys. 2018 budget reveals. The Heritage says Kaba died on my laps. Tearful mother laments how Kaba joined his maker. Today says Dagbon Youth March for Peace. The Times, Otumfuo slams Delta Force judgment. That's the big one on the Ghanaian Times. And the Statesman says Ghana-UK ties to grow stronger. Nana meets Theresa May. Those are some of the papers I have with me. My guest this morning, a member of the NDC's communication team and a legal practitioner, Abraham Amaliba, is here. Good morning.
Good morning, Brian.
Hope you're doing great.
Quite well.
I'm also waiting for the NPP rep, member of parliament for the Asin South constituency, Reverend John Intim Fodro. But let's start our conversation this morning. We'll quickly take a look at the Daily Graphic this morning. There's a story on page 44, a reaction to Daily Graphic's front page story yesterday about the Free Senior High School. Now, the story says that the Ghana Education Service has urged heads of senior high schools in the country that have specific concerns to use relevant channels to liaise with it to deal with those concerns. It said the service was committed to quality education delivery goals at all levels and was working to ensure that any challenges were resolved in an expedited manner. Reacting to the lead story on the Monday, November 2017 issue of the Daily Graphic, the Acting Director General of the Ghana Education Service, Professor Kwesi Opokwa-Mankwa, said the attention of the GES was drawn to the news report by the outgoing president of the Conference of Assisted Senior High Schools, Mrs. Cecilia Kwachi Kofi, who was quoted to have made a wide range of statements, particularly on the running of free senior high school in the country. We're told that at the 68th speech and prize giving day of Winneba Senior High School, Mrs. Kofi called on government as a matter of urgency to release subsidies which have been in arrears for 3 terms to senior high schools, saying that senior high schools risk being closed down if the absorbed fees by government did not reach the schools immediately. Now, this is the rebuttal from the GES. It says that both the subsidies and the progressively free senior high school program, which were in arrears of 25 million cedis plus and 17 million cedis plus respectively, as at January 2017, in respect of the first term of the academic year, had been paid. It said again that the arrears in respect of the third term of 2015-2016 academic year, amounting to 8 million cedis plus, have also been paid. Further, 10 million cedis for the progressively free senior high school relating to the second term of the 2016-2017 academic year has also been paid, even an outstanding amount of 7 million cedis. Subsidies for the second term, together with both subsidies and the progressively free senior high school, are still outstanding and are being processed for payment. He, however, wondered how the arrears of the subsidy, he says that the money that is outstanding is so small that it could not result in the close down of the school. That's the Director General of the Ghana Education Service talking there. We'll get into other issues that Mrs. Kofi raised, but let me begin from here. For me, the subsidy issue has to do with figures, and we know the bureaucracy. The woman said the headmasters, mistresses don't have the money yet. The GES director says, well, there is some outstanding, but some have been processed. The key thing Madam Kofi raised yesterday is also the fact that headmasters and headmistresses are so scared about voicing out their concerns for fear of victimization and sanctions. For me, that is what is most worrying.
Let me start by saying good morning to your viewers and to indicate that I commend the CHAS president. What's the name of the lady?
Mrs. Cecilia Kwachi Kofi.
Yes. I commend her highly for putting out some of these challenges facing the implementation of the free SHS in the public domain. It's not easy in these times, particularly in this period that the government is really under pressure with the implementation of the free SHS, to speak out in this way. I commend her. Particularly, her comments are coming at a time when her colleagues have been either disciplined, dismissed, transferred, because they also made similar comments facing regarding the challenges facing the free SHS. But you see, I am surprised that the GES is putting out these defenses in such a way as to suggest that the lady president of CHAS told a lie to the people of this country. The challenges facing the free SHS was not only articulated by the CHAS president. Indeed, one Amuako Tufo, who's not an NDC man, but who is a strong member of the MPP, who is part of the founding members of the MPP, said that he took a tour to some schools, and what he saw, he wept for the children. But in all this, are we surprised? We have a president, we have a party people, and we have a government that literally has cotton wool in their ears. And when you caution them, they brush you aside. Indeed, before the implementation, key stakeholders, a professor at the University of Cape Coast, cautioned the Minister of Education to tread cautiously. What did we see? We saw a heavy doses of insults rain on the professor by NAPO. Well-meaning guardians have asked this government to be cautious. Good program, but timing is bad. And I've always said that if you cannot control the flood waters, why open the floodgates? Clearly, once you said there was going to be free education, you should be prepared that a lot of people will go into the schools. If the GES is now saying that they have paid monies, between the GES, who is claiming that monies have been paid, and the recipient, and the recipient is the headmistress and her colleagues who are CHAS members, between the two of them, who would you believe? The one receiving says that money has not come, and the one giving says that money has been sent. I would believe the one who says that I've not yet received the money. And so rather than being defensive and being on an attack and showing intolerance when it comes to matters of this nature, see how our children are living in the various schools. Would you ship your child away to a school where the conditions are inhumane, as we are seeing? It is terrible. And people are not speaking out. People are literally afraid of the government. And so, I commend the woman. I think majority of Ghanaians will commend her. And I'm calling on well-meaning Ghanaians to take a tour to these schools and see whether that is the kind of free education we envisage for our children to be in. It is so dehumanizing that you find children sleeping in tents. Now, when we're grappling with matters relating to schools and the trees, we now have dining halls and the trees. We have children sitting on blocks and learning. And when you want to talk, they say that, oh, it's the beginning, we'll correct it. There are some problems that are so humongous that they go to take away the shine of what you are doing. These are not teething problems. These are huge problems that threaten the success of the program. NAGRAT have all complained about class sizes. You know what class size do to people's learning. At the end of the day, contact hours, personal contact with students is absent. They come out of school and they are not even able to progress to the university. Did we go or did we come? So I think the managers of this system should step backwards, accept the criticisms, and see the way to go.
Just last week, the Finder published a story where some 32 schools were to be given some various infrastructure. Perhaps that's the beginning of government's effort to deal with these challenges.
You know, in my view, listening to the finance minister in parliament, I now think that we are no more doing free SHS, but we are doing voluntary contribution SHS. Why am I saying this? The very same thing that the headmasters in some schools were trying to implement by asking parents who can afford to assist in dealing with the problems. Some of them were fired because of that. We've gone full cycle, 360 degrees, and the finance minister is now articulating the same opinion in our budget. Once again, did we go or did we come? The government frowned on what headmasters were trying to do to try to ameliorate the problem. Now we have the finance minister coming to parliament, going there and indicating to parliamentarians that now that is the approach we will take. Should I also call for his dismissal? Poor head teachers, headmasters have been dismissed because they saw the situation and they were trying to plug the situation. Now we have a finance minister coming all around and endorsing what the headmasters were saying. So it is a myriad of problems. Apart from monies not having been sent, we also have logistic problems, we have infrastructure problems, and I think this government sometimes thinks it is building, but in actual fact, it is destroying. Because at the end of the day, when these students come out of the SS program, they cannot progress to the university. What kind of people will we leave them to be? You are destroying.
Is it
instead of building, you are destroying.
Is it beyond government capability to resolve these challenges quickly?
It is not beyond government. You see, this government has misplaced priorities. You have put in your budget a certain amount to recruit 100,000 school leavers.
We'll come to talk about that. The Daily Graphic has a story.
Now, when you look at the amount is too meager that it will be a drop in the ocean. Why don't you marshal all your resources? Looking at what is happening at this free SHS, why don't you marshal all resources? That's what we call a Marshall Plan. That will fix this problem. And for now, resources, finance, manpower will be put to resolving the issue of infrastructure at its various schools. Remember, under Kufuor, they have sent the SSS to 4 years, but hadn't provided infrastructure. When the NDC came under the Mills, we saw how that situation was beginning to have a toll on the system. What Professor Mills did was quickly to marshal resources and deal with that 4-year, last year program that was not giving the necessary infrastructure. This is what I expect the government to marshal all resources, to say that our young kids, children are living in inhumane conditions. What would we do? Shouldn't we put resources together and deal with it? But this is a government that seems to say that I don't see anything wrong, you don't see anything wrong, you don't talk, I don't talk, let it go. Water will find its level. This is not the way water finds its level.
Finally, the channel Mrs. Kofi used to voice out the concerns of headmasters and headmistresses, the GS is suggesting that it is not a relevant channel.
I disagree. That was president of CHAS.
Yes.
Talking to his colleagues. I think it was a conference.
Yeah, no, it was the speech day.
Speech day of Winneba Senior High School. Yes. Now, if she had gone to a church program, then I would say that the platform is wrong. But these were challenges senior high schools were facing, and that senior high school wouldn't have been left out in terms of the challenges. So that platform was, for me, appropriate. If they are saying that she should have reported the challenges, I am aware that the Minister of Education is aware of these challenges. So what did they want her to do? She was only voicing out what was obvious. She was only telling the people what was obvious. And for me, this lady should never be sacrificed. We should all come round to support her, knowing the way the government behaves when you talk about free HSS. I am sure they will be targeting this woman. Let's give her the support.
I'm grateful. He's a member of the NDC's communication team, Abraham Malige Legal. Let me welcome the Member of Parliament for the Ascent South constituency, Reverend John and Tim Fojo. Good morning.
Good morning.
And grateful for your time with us.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. We have the Daily Graphic this morning reporting that the GES is asking headmasters and headmistresses to use relevant channels to deal with challenges. This is in reaction to the lead story of the Daily Graphic yesterday, which said that the president of the Conference of Heads of Assisted Senior High Schools, the outgoing president or outgone president, has asked government as a matter of urgency to release subsidies which have been in arrears for 3 terms to senior high schools. She said that the schools risk being closed down if the absorbed fees by government did not reach the schools immediately. GES has come out. In fact, she raised several other concerns. For instance, the fact that the National Food Buffer Stock Company, which is said to supply food to schools, has, as of the day she spoke, not supplied a single food item to any of the senior high schools in the country. The GES says that some of the monies she spoke about have been released, others are in arrears. But the GES is suggesting that these heads should use relevant channels to deal with the challenges. Reverend Tim Fojo, the challenges with senior high schools, how should they be dealt with in terms of letting authorities know the challenges and find solutions to them?
Yeah, thank you, Bright, for the opportunity to be here, and a good morning to Lawyer Maliba, my co-panelist here, and a good morning to our esteemed listeners. And foremost, my condolences to, excuse me, to the families, to multimedia, and to the good people of Ghana. We are all bereaved at the passing of Mr. Kwadwo Asare-Bafo Champon Kaba. I mean, Ghana has lost an industrious son, a legend who has helped shape the political discourse. For the past decade, his contribution has been indelible, and we are really saddened at the passing. Yesterday, I was present at the memorial service that was held for him at the forecourt of Multimedia Group. It was really sad. But I still maintain that we are sad here on earth, but heaven is rejoicing because a great man has joined his maker. And as 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 18 says, in all things, Paul admonishes that in all things we should give thanks to God. So my condolences once again to the widow and the young baby that has been left behind. The Lord comfort you, and the Lord who restores, restore unto you this loss, even though it's irreplaceable. And also my condolences to the family of one of my assembly members, unfortunately has also passed on over the weekend, Honorable Edujemfi, the assembly member for Adiembra electoral area, has also passed on. My condolences to the family and to the District Chief Executive Officer of District Chief Executive of Asin South District Assembly. That is a cousin, a direct cousin of the DCE. And we are all saddened, and we pray that the Lord comforts us all. In respect of the assertions that were made by that going CHAS president, I would want to take it from yesterday. I discussed it, and just at the citing of the story, the first question I asked was, are these assertions attributed to the outgoing president of CHAS in Central Region really what she said in her speech? Because if that is actually what she said, it is palpable falsehood. It is falsehood to the extent that for one to say that for all the schools in Central Region, upon the implementation of free SHS, buffer stock has reneged on supplying and even stating categorically that food has not been supplied to schools. That is falsehood. And the whole country was misled by this falsehood. And I was expecting that by now, she would have done the honorable thing by apologizing. You see, Bright, free SHS is a national policy. It's a policy that is not the achievement of President Akufo-Addo. That is how the president sees it. And he asserted, he made that position clear even at the launch of free SHS, that this policy is a real need that has been met. This is a need that Ghanaians have, which has been met, which is a national policy, which benefits inures not only to MPP faithfuls, but regardless of background, regardless of political affiliation, this is a benefit to us all, as a nation, a significant contribution to the improvement of our education.
Reverend, quickly, I know, I'll get you to learn, but you said what the woman said is a lie, but GES has reacted. Now, the acting director, deputy director general of even before I go there, the acting deputy director general of GES, the chairman of the GES council, the GES is saying that these persons, the acting deputy director general of GES, the chairman of GES council, the coordinator of the Free Senior High School Secretariat, and a rep from NAFCO are currently on a nationwide tour to meet with the suppliers and school heads to address the various challenges. So, is this an assertion that what the woman said was not? No food has been supplied, and the tour is now starting to meet heads and suppliers to begin distribution of food.
Let me show you. You see, I have received a lot of complaints. Central Region is my home region, and so if if for nothing at all, I'm very keen on the progress of free SHS. If even I'm not able to follow through in every region, at least in Central Region, I have 4 SHS in my constituency, and it is my commitment to monitor, to ensure how the program is running and faring in those schools, and by extension, schools in Central Region. So I am following this, and as soon as it came, even prior to this accession coming, I had received complaints from various suppliers who had been assigned by buffer stock. Now, when the process is such that, Ministry of Education has outsourced the supply of meals to buffer stock. Buffer stock has registered suppliers who have been assigned to various schools to supply them. Now, the procedure is that a supplier ought to receive a supply order from the school, upon which to estimate their weekly demands, their monthly demands, and then by estimation you can determine their termly demands. And most of the schools in Central Region fail to comply with cooperate with the suppliers and on that basis. And then when the suppliers had even gone further, some I must be honest to say that some were cooperated with them, but many others did not. And even when suppliers had gone further to make supplies, in most cases they had turned them down away. That we don't need, we've not requested for this, we've not requested for oil.
So those schools which have not received supplies are those who have not been able to.
I'm establishing the point. I have followed through this personally, and prior to this assertion, see, we must admit that there have been some few challenges that cannot be dismissed. But you cannot say that food has not been supplied, because I have invoices here and store receipts from suppliers, including Winneba Secondary School, where that assertion was made.
So buffer stock has supplied food to Winneba Secondary School.
Supplies that have been made including Winneba Secondary School, where this incident occurred. All the receipts are here. I will show them to you. So and they had even further invoiced buffer stock. So the question I interrogate is, which schools did these supplies? If Winneba Secondary School, I will cite that, because that is where the assertion was made.
You did not mention schools anyway.
Yes, but every school in Central Region has received supply up to midterm. Albeit there were a few suppliers who had logistic challenges. Immediately, buffer stock took the necessary steps and reassigned those contracts to other suppliers who are able and are able to supply. So let us be circumspect. Much as we may recount challenges that are associated with policies that we roll out, let us admit that there is no part in the world where policies had been implemented without challenges. But in those jurisdictions, whenever those challenges came, because we all collectively saw those policies as a national policy, and we dropped our partisan interest, I'm telling you, people are on record to have resolved that due to their political affiliations and the benefit that they seek to inure to their political pursuits, they will do everything possible to sabotage this program. Some of these happenings, when I chance upon,
evidence to show?
Yes, when I chance, let's say that I produced it at Joy News. Is it when I chance upon some of these
document, someone saying that
some of these
want to sabotage
the
senior high school?
Hot transfers. You see, so when some of these developments are coming, you know, it goes to substantiate those who hold the school of thought based on these facts.
You say that the Mafa stock has indeed supplied food to some schools. So what the woman is saying is
let me show you some of the
now,
receipts.
she also raised concerns about the fact that subsidies have not been sent. The GES says it is indeed true. Some have not been sent.
Lawyer,
but others,
is this not a store receipt for a school in Cape Coast? You may not don't mention the school, but this is a store receipt of goods that have been supplied to a very important school in Cape Coast.
I'm not a storekeeper. I don't know what.
Yes, but you've seen it,
right?
But
so
if you were closer, I would have shown it to you.
Yes,
so these are all. That's why I'm saying that. Let us recount that there are challenges. Maybe quantities of food supplied maybe are in deficit of 10% or 15%, or maybe we expected 100 bags of rice, 200 bags of maize, but 50 had been supplied, 60 had been supplied. Let us be circumspect. Integrity, to me, is very key. And that is why, wherever I sit, any utterance, anything that I would espouse, I ensure that they are factual. Because integrity is
Reverend Timfojo, are you saying that the Mafa stock has supplied food to every school in the central region?
Every school has received, but I cannot assert that to the right quantities as a date.
Okay.
That is what.
So you're not sure about that.
Yes.
Okay. Then again,
that must be put in perspective. You see, let us appreciate that this is a program that has come to offer very important relief for many millions of people who hitherto would have struggled. Households would have struggled. I struggled through SHS, and I know many people in Ghana also share similar circumstances.
Great.
Let us do all we can to ensure that this national policy comes to stay and it will be sustained. And let some stakeholders refrain from that poise. It's as if they have poised to ensure that this doesn't run well, but it must run well for us all as a country.
Then again, she raised the subsidies and the free progressively high school.
Now, in respect
funds.
of yes, I'm coming to that. In respect of the subsidies, these were areas that were piled by the previous government. But I know that, and I appreciate that government is a continuum. And so successive governments would have to be committed to liabilities and areas that are piled in by the previous administration. But in putting it in perspective, she alluded to 3 times arrears, but that is not so. That is not so. For instance, as at January 2017, the subsidy arrears to schools in respect of the first term stood at 25,469,000, whilst that of the progressively free SHS program stood at 17.9 million. All these have been paid. Again, the arrears
are
in
you able
respect
to
of the
tell
third
when
term,
it was paid?
the arrears,
she spoke
the arrears,
on Saturday.
But these were not paid yesterday.
Okay.
These were not paid yesterday. But that is why I'm saying that, see, much as everyone is entitled to their opinions and freedom of speech, information that we put out there, particularly holding such positions of influence, where it is assumed that you are the voice of all the heads of assisted schools in the central region, you need to ensure that you have checked your facts, and it will not be far-fetched to even check the facts even fundamentally, to know that food has been supplied, because in the school...
No, Reverend, you can categorically state that the monies had been paid before she spoke on Saturday.
Had been paid.
Okay. All right.
You see, let the impression not be created that these amounts were just paid yesterday when assessment was made.
But you don't know when it was paid.
It was paid way before the transfers were made.
Oh, okay, please go on.
So these are the second term, I'm told, is still outstanding. So the 3 terms outstanding that she talks about is not entirely the case. So what I'm saying is that media is a very
and then even before you go on, we know of the bureaucracy when monies are paid and they are yet to hit account. Again, I want to know, is it possible that the monies have been paid but yet to hit the accounts of these?
The monies have been paid.
And it has hit the account.
The monies have been paid. How long does it take for interbank transfers?
Well, in some situations, it takes days before.
Yeah, but I'm telling you on authority that these
have been paid. It has hit the accounts.
Had been paid. So they just had to check their facts. For instance, I've shown Lawyer Maliba, and if you are the proximity, I would have shown you receipts from various. The suppliers keep, as I'm here, suppliers are texting with their experiences. Some are saying they took oil to a particular school in Central Region. For 3 hours, they have to take samples. We are going to the lab. We are testing acidity. We are testing alkaline content of palm oil. And then eventually, they are even asking them the price of the oil that they are supplying. Meanwhile, it is not in your purview to pay them. It is buffer stock that is paying them. Their refusal to provide them the information of the price of the oil constituted they rejected the oil after spending 3 good hours in that particular school. Another supplier loaded truck full of assorted goods, maize, rice, groundnuts, soya bean, and what have you, cooking oil to a school. They told them we are not obliged to even receive. We have already bought our things. Take it back.
The GS director also agreed, considered that the second term,
because I want to move away to another point raised by Lawyer Maliba, is that we must all refrain from attempts to sabotage this. We must, Central Region is not the only region that is being supplied. Yes, Central Region is not the only region that is being supplied.
Because of time, I want us to move on.
Let us all
the GS director considered that there are some arrears. Okay,
yes, but I consider same. I said to you.
So perhaps
I mentioned
the woman
and I mentioned the ones that have been
suggesting might not be letting out false information as you were saying.
Yeah, it is falsehood, because when you say 3 times arrears and it is not so, when you say that no food has been supplied and people have supplied and even invoiced.
That's one school you have?
Not one school.
How many schools do you have?
I have about 12 schools that have been
there are more than 12 schools in the Central
And I'm saying the ones that have received their receipts. And there's no single school. I have done my checks.
Okay.
There's no single school that has not received food.
Okay.
But albeit I cannot determine that it is the quantities they've received is the right quantities as a date. That is what I can say for sure.
Okay.
But we have to put it in perspective. Now again, we must also address the lack of cooperation on the part of some bearers and some store keepers and some heads of institutions who are frustrating the process. Let us ensure that these are some of the attitude that's not augur well for our governance. These are what actually trigger this partisanship, and then people would want to, let me even pause here for now. But again,
it's okay. Wrap up for me. Let me quickly go to
on Lawyer Maliba's. He has utterly disputed even the significance and the importance of the 100,000 jobs that the 2018 budget.
We're going to go to it. It's a story in here that we're going to talk about. So let me quickly move on.
He's saying
I'm saying that that is a full story we're going to talk about.
Let me chip in here, because he mentioned it in this
yes, and I'm saying that it's a full story in the Daily Graphic that we are going to talk about. So you hold your breath there. Let me quickly go on. Reverend, it's a full story we're going to talk about. Daily Graphic has it, so let me move on.
And infrastructure challenges regard to...
I'll come to you.
Yeah,
all right.
The infrastructure challenges.
Mr. Maliba, please come in and let me move on. I'm running out of time.
You see, when you listen to MPP and their
quickly,
communicators...
we just have about a minute and...
Yes, MPP and their communicators. they are blaming everybody except they themselves for the challenges faced. If you, now we are being told Bezos, I'm sure tomorrow somebody will come and say Pantryman, another person will come and say, why? Look, we are stakeholders in this country. You can't ship my child to a school and allow the child to be living in inhumane conditions and say, I shouldn't talk. And when I talk, you christen me, you christen me doomsayer. Look,
what inhumane condition are you talking about?
Children Reverend, you allow him. I am coming to you. Reverend, please.
No, it's the boss and the two thieves at the Flagstaff House. You see, the point is that
you allow him.
The point is that
Reverend, please allow him. Allow him. I will come to you.
Anytime a government, a sitting government, begins to point fingers at its opponents for their inability to meet their promises or to fulfill their promises, it's a tacit admission of failure. You have all the machinery. You have all the state apparatus within your control. And you are saying that people are sabotaging your efforts? So,
and I promise it with evidence. I showed you.
What happens to feasibility studies in policy implementation? Feasibility studies in policy implementation is to throw up some challenges that you face if you implement a policy. So you begin to deal with the problems before you implement. Did you do that? That's all for them.
I'm grateful. The Daily Graphic has this story. Imani disappointed with the establishment of Nation Builders Corps. Now, policy think tank Imani Ghana has expressed disappointment with the government decision to establish a Nation Builders Corps to deal with a escalating phenomenon of graduate unemployment. Passing a verdict on the policy, Imani said in its assessment of the 2018 budget that this program is a reflection of policy incoherence and a myopic approach to solving graduate unemployment. It said that the program could not be a solution to the canker of graduate unemployment. Reverend, that's the story. Imani says that the Nation Builders Corps is not a solution to unemployment.
In respect of the Nations Builders Corps, which seeks to provide 100,000 and over jobs for graduates, it's a very effective way at tackling the unemployment problem that we have in this country. But just before I go on to substantiate that point, it is important to assert and remark that free SHS program is running, it is on course, it is not in jeopardy as some may want us to believe. It is on course. There may be challenges, but it's being handled, it would be resolved and to be sustained. And when we have succeeded at this, and then 20 years later, we would have seen the formidable gains as a nation that that's accruing. Even in just a year, a parent would have saved 10,000 Ghana cedis, put that to alternative use, and how that is helping improve the livelihood of Ghanaians. We would, we would always remember President Akufo-Addo on that. Now, there's a picture clearly that I want to paint to you. Already we have a number of millions of unemployed people in the system who this pile-up was accumulated over the years. In every year, averagely, there are over close to 100,000 graduates who graduate to join the pile that are already unemployed. How many out of this 100,000 estimated graduates that we produce find jobs, are able to find jobs? Let us also appreciate that even as we speak currently, we can talk about over 1.2 million population in second cycle institutions, and then estimatedly about 400,000 averagely will be passing out every year. Not all of these 400,000 students will be able to pass through to the tertiary. The tertiary lacks the capacity to absorb all these 400,000. Some will have to truncate the education at that point, and will have to find unskilled and semi-skilled jobs. And the ones that are even able to further to the tertiary, to the nursing training, to the agri colleges, to the training colleges of education, to technical universities, to universities, what have you. These constitute about 100,000 graduates that we are producing every year. What jobs are available for them? Over the years, what steps had been taken in sustainably having a program that, if not even dealing with the backlog, even addressed to a large, significant extent, the new adapts that we are adding. Now, we've had a program, a very formidable program that seeks that 100,000 jobs for graduates will not entirely eradicate unemployment. Because there's a huge pile, millions of piles.
So what would this graduate do?
This is going to significantly be a step, towards another time. We'll debate the details of this. You see, some people are trying to set their own question and providing their non-existent answers to it. But I would want us to wait. We will provide the right details and we'll debate on that. But if any civil society organization, of course, in the spirit of good governance, we seek the opinions of all in the civil society organizations, and then
so Imani says that the 600 million should have gone into providing financing for these graduates to go into agriculture and not to go into sanitation and tax collection and stuff like that.
But you see, when you comprehensively study the budget that has been read out, there's a program, National Entrepreneurial Innovation Plan, has been set out, and funds have been allocated to fund young entrepreneurs. That is there. Planting for food and jobs. It's a program that seeks, so any youth that seeks to go and venture into agriculture is going to find eminent support.
From the 2018
yes,
Reverend, I'm grateful. Let me go to Mr.
But I would have thought that there would have been alternative proposals. You should,
for me,
so in just criticizing the 100,000 jobs, ruling out the significance, we have unemployment problem. And once we are using
Reverend,
I am grateful. Agriculture,
I am grateful.
The one district, one factory.
I am grateful.
Once we are freeing up the energies in the private sector
wrap up
to
on
expand
this.
to
Reverend, I am grateful.
This is very important.
I'm sure Imani in the coming days will also be tagged as prophets of doom. This is a government that is intolerant. They think that whatever they do is sacrosanct. It's so sacrosanct that you cannot criticize them. And that you should not suggest you should not suggest anything to them. So I won't be surprised that they will come and say that Imani is a prophet, an organization which is preaching doom. You have 290 doctors qualified, begging you to absolve them. And as we speak, some district hospitals don't have doctors. Just 290.
And how many did you employ?
Would you behave? No, Reverend, please, don't distract him. Reverend, please allow him to. Mr. Malo, please go on.
Whatever happened in the NDC is no more an issue. They have voted for you. You are now in the spotlight.
Please go on. Mr. Malba, please
now, you cannot provide for 290 doctors. Is it possible to provide for 100,000 what jobs? As we speak, a National Youth Employment Program, they are not being paid. Arrears. Yes. They are not being paid.
That's not true.
You are recruiting 200, and look at the amount, the paltry amount dedicated to the program. When you do the mathematics, they are going to get 250 Ghana cedis.
No.
That is lower than.
How do you do your maths?
That is lower than. Would you behave like me? Learn from me.
No, I won't learn from
when you are talking, I get quiet.
You allow him to go on. If you have any reaction, I'll get you the chance to
I thought pastors, when they are preaching, their congregants don't talk.
Allow him to go on.
So learn from your pastoral work. When you are talking, your congregants don't talk. So learn from your congregants. So you see, the point is that when you look at the national service allowance, it's around 500. These people you are recruiting, you are going to give them 250. Is that the kind of job that graduates intend to go into when they complete school? I know what is happening. Over the 11 months in this regime, you notice that invisible forces have been everywhere, attacking people left and right because they have not been given employment. This is an attempt to take them in for programs such as this. You would say that
Is this a program for graduates?
No, I'm telling you.
So you see,
they would pick them. I'm telling you. Look, currently as we speak, there are people who are occupying positions they have not qualified to be there under this regime.
That's not true.
Samia Oku is not qualified to be a board member. I'll give you one example. under the law establishing the YEA, you need a master.
So you're a lawyer. Why haven't you contested it? If that is an illegality,
is that the argument now?
No, you are.
You wanted me to give you one example.
Why haven't you contested it?
I choose my fight. I choose my fight.
Please go on.
I'm a lawyer. I choose my fight. I don't go about suing anyhow. I choose my fight.
Please go on.
So this is a way of absorbing their teeming unemployed youth into the program. You heard one of them, Yisi Boatin, say that when it comes to employment, the MPP people are more Ghanaians than others. That is the response to the quest of providing them with jobs. So, for me, I think that once again, this government is on a path of self-destruction. Let's leave them. Let's leave them to do what they are doing. 2020, as the Ghanaian people are. Ghanaian people have been talking about 2020. We go show now. This is some of the things that the people of this country have been talking about. That you do not address the needs of the people. 290 Ghanaian doctors want to go in and provide health services. What is their fate? Financial clearance, but there will be financial clearance for this. God save Ghana.
Yeah, Bright.
I'm grateful.
Bright, let me quickly.
I'm wrapping up the show.
So just in a few seconds, Bright.
Okay.
Right, in a few seconds. See, in politics, I still maintain, contrary to the views of some others, that in politics, integrity is everything. And that is what my guiding principle. You see, when NDC, just prior to the reading of the budget, 2018 budget, said their own questions, made their own predictions, all telling misleading the entire country. The MPP is going to introduce tax in mobile money. The NPP is going to do this. They are going to set this target. And then it turned out that they were all falsehood. You see, now Ghanaians
they also raised the issue of the stabilization levy,
and I'm concerned.
Which is not
right.
false.
I'm concerned.
Which is there.
Right, I'm concerned.
They also raised the stabilization levy,
governance,
which
is
there.
I think
talk about that.
The 2 seconds you gave me, you are taking it yourself.
Yes.
You see, it is. I'm concerned because in the spirit of good governance, you know, the opposition ought to be very credible and effective check on the government. And when integrity issues are coming up, it's a concern.
Would you say, that everything they said was false?
No, not in the same vein.
Would you say that everything they said?
2 minutes.
No, would you say that everything they said was
the other
false?
1 minute.
No, I'm asking if you would say that everything they said in the press conference.
Did we introduce tax on mobile money?
You did not, but the stabilization levy they raised,
did we set our deficit at 3.8?
No, I am saying that would you say that everything they said was false?
So let us now in the same vein.
All right.
They are predicting that the salaries for the 100,000 jobs is going to be. No, you have your 1 minute after I'm done.
All right. Gentlemen, I have to wrap up the show.
That the salary is going to be 250. That is falsehood. That is not the case.
Okay.
The 293 doctors we've given clearance for.
Look at.
In 4 years, in 6 years, doctors were at home under NDC.
Look at.
We're not giving jobs.
We
have come and given the shortest.
Gentlemen, I am grateful for your time this morning.
Look at somebody talking about
that
credibility.
is the difference between NDP and
Look at those talking about credibility.
Gentlemen, I'm grateful.
Credibility.
I am grateful.
The whole finance minister goes
the member of parliament for
Ascent South to the people of Ghana.
The member of the NDC communication team.
Your president lies. Your vice president lies. Your finance minister lies.
If you send in your comments, I'm going to read them. And I'm so used to these things. Grateful for your time with us this morning. Gentlemen, thanks so much for your time. Let's take a break while we come back. There is more on the show.
Welcome back and thank you very much. So the government has been speaking broadly about widening the tax net. The Ghana Revenue Authority has launched a brand new campaign and says hashtag our taxes our future. This morning I've been joined by Mr. Kwesi Bobiansa, the Acting Assistant Commissioner of the Communications and Public Affairs Department of the Ghana Revenue Authority, and also Mr. Kwesi Osei Nkrumah. He is the Chief Revenue Officer with the Ghana Revenue Authority. Gentlemen, welcome. Good morning.
Good morning.
And how are we doing?
Fine.
So the GRA has launched a new tax campaign. What exactly exactly is the campaign about?
Thank you, Chief. Johnny. The tax campaign is essentially about developing and sustaining a national conversation on tax issues. Right. We are in a country where we have relegated the issues of tax to the background. But GRA believes that it is time we started talking about tax. GRA, the tax campaign is about increasing the awareness of Ghanaians on taxes. If we don't pay our taxes, what happens? Do we have a future? What is the importance of taxes to us? We want the good road, the good hospital, but where is the money coming from? The tax campaign is about appealing to the patriotic sentiments of Ghanaians to awaken our consciousness about the service we do to ourselves if we don't pay our taxes. Therefore, we want all Ghanaians to talk about us and bring it to the front burner.
Let me come to you, Mr. Nkrumah. So, one would then wonder, you know, why a campaign at this particular point in time? You've been collecting taxes since forever.
Well, obviously, we've been collecting taxes, but we believe that we can collect more.
Okay.
And that's the reason why we need to go out there and talk to, appeal to the patriotic sentiment, like Mr. Ubi as I said, for them to pay their taxes. And they will all pay, obviously, when they know the important role that taxes play in their lives. I remember a friend asked me, what is the importance of taxation? I said, look, with all the money that individuals have, I've never seen an individual who has constructed his own road from Kumasi to Accra.
Absolutely.
Or from Ho to Pandai. Right. Obviously, they are built and sustained and maintained by the government. So the government needs money, of course, to pay recurrent expenditure, like the salary of government workers. Before even the advent of the free SHS, the fact remains that tuition in our public institutions were borne by the government. Right. This is as a result of taxes. So we believe that when Ghanaians know the important role that taxes play in our lives, then they will pay more. This is the reason why we have decided to go out to appeal to the sentiments of Ghanaians that this is exactly what is happening.
Mr. Nkrumah, this is a campaign. How long is it going to last? 3 months, 6 months, 1 year?
Obviously, the first part, I think that we have taxed ourselves to do it for 4 months. But okay. Yeah, 4 weeks to be precise. But you cannot do this and go back and sit down. We will come back to it, and we want to sustain it. So it's something that is going to be part of our tax efforts.
See, let's talk about the activities that you put up there for the campaign. 4 weeks, what are we going to be doing?
Well, a number of activities have been lined up. Okay. And one principal one, what we are doing now, letting the public discuss tax, so radio and TV discussions. Right. Then radio, TV, jingles, adverts, announcements. Okay. We are also now the internet social media. Right. So we are also disseminating tax information on the social media. Apart from that, we are also going to print adverts. We have developed a team music which will drive this campaign. Okay. And then also we are also undertaking community outreach. Okay. There will be discussions in the churches, in the mosques. And apart from all the PR activities, we are also complementing the campaign with compliance activities by our officers on the field. Okay. So all over the country, you see GR officers in this T-shirt, right, with the hashtag, our taxes, our future. Okay. And as part of it, we have developed some messages. Of course, the theme for the campaign is, like you said, hashtag, our taxes, our future. Right. But then we also have other messages like taxpayers, nation builders. Taxes build great nations. Right. I pay my taxes, do you? So I ask you, I pay my taxes, do you?
Of course, they take money. My tax is bigger than my tax, actually.
Every little tax helps. For us at GRA, no amount is too small. Whatever your business, don't say that you are out of the...
It will lead me to ask you what the target of this whole campaign is, because in the minds of the ordinary Ghanaian, as we call them over and over again, they think that, well, when the taxes are collected, they are not put to proper use. That's a conversation for another day. Who are you targeting in this campaign?
We're targeting taxpayers in particular.
By taxpayers, formal workers, informal workers, what are we talking?
Yes, both formal and informal sector, those who qualify to pay tax.
Okay.
That is our target. And obviously we are targeting those who qualify to do it, but they don't do it. And that is our set goal. So all people, man of people who qualify to pay tax. Those who are paying and who are not even paying the actual taxes, and those who are not paying at all. These are our target
Give
groups.
me categories of those who are paying, those who are not paying the actual taxes. Give me an example of it. So, I have a tabletop. I have a tabletop. I sell some stuff at Abosokai. Do I need to pay taxes?
Let me come in here. You see, like you said, those who are supposed to pay are not pay, but particularly our colleagues, our citizens in the informal sector.
Right.
If you are Abosokai, yes, you are supposed to pay tax. Tabletop, we have what we call the tax stamp, and it ranges from 3 cedis to 45 cedis a quarter. Right. I mean, depending on your yes. And all those who have businesses, unfortunately, they don't know the tax office.
Okay.
I'm talking about unregistered business. Like you said, there are those who are paying, but they, for 1 year or two, they may not have paid. They have tax arrears, tax or something like. We want them to come and pay or make the necessary arrangements to settle. Yes.
So in the last budget that was read by the Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta, they spoke about the fact that some waiver will go for people who earn the minimum wage. How does that fit into this campaign? You want to broaden the tax net. Then government says, okay, for those who earn a certain amount, we're prepared to give them a wage. How do we blend the two?
As part of the motivation effort to get people to pay tax. And I must say that if you earn income, a certain income earners, even bracket,
okay,
it is not every money which is taxed.
Yes.
Yes, this is an incentive. So whatever we're doing, whatever the minister said, is to just bring people's mind to the fact that we need to pay tax. And the fact that the tax is not a monster. It has a human face. It has its obvious positives if you want to pay the tax. And these are some of the positives that the minister mentioned. But to know the full impact of the positive aspect of those who pay tax, I will urge every Ghanaian. If an income earner, you are asking people who pay taxes. If you are an income earner, obviously you qualify to pay tax. Those who don't pay tax, we are in the position to tell that this category of people, we don't pay tax.
Right.
But obviously, if once you're into business, just go to the tax office. Ask them what your tax responsibilities are.
There's also been the argument that, look, people want to pay their taxes, but they come to your offices and sometimes they are told that business has not started and they need to hold on, we'll start at 8:39 and all of that. And sometimes it's a great disincentive to people who want to pay. Are we looking at working that into the campaign as well?
There's an attitude, yeah. People have questioned the attitude of some of our workers, and obviously these are some of the things that we need to look at. Right. It is unacceptable for me, for a taxpayer to walk into a tax office, for you to tell him or her that the time is not up.
Right.
You're on break. At any point in time, we need to attend to our taxpayers, especially when it is within the working hours. Of course, outside the working hours, we cannot tell you to attend to them. But within the working hours, it is highly immoral. Right. It is unacceptable to say that we are not ready, so we have to wait.
But Mr. Bobiansa, is the GRA alone on this campaign? Our taxes are future. Are you alone, or you're working with some other agencies?
We are working with some agencies because we believe that GRA alone cannot do it.
Okay.
You see, tax depends on relevant information and people in our communities, and therefore we are meeting stakeholders, the professional bodies, hairdressers, market queens. We have met all of them, and then apart from we are also collaborating in this campaign with the Information Services Department. Right. Their duty is to explain government policy. So what they will do for us is that what they call down broadcast. You know, they go and then follow up with explanation. Apart from that, we also one great collaborator or partner in this campaign is the National Commission for Civic Education, whose duty it is to explain our civic obligation to us. They will engage in this community outreach, town hall meetings. They will go to the mosques, they will go to the churches together with GRA officers, and then you, particularly the media. Right. Because without you, I mean, we can sit in our offices day long, but now that we are talking, a lot of people are listening to us, are watching it. So these are the people we are.
Somebody is listening to this very important message. He wants to know how to register to become a taxpayer. That's our final question, though. How do I register to become a taxpayer? I work here, and at the end of the month, something is deducted from me. But somebody who doesn't work in such an environment, what can they do? How can they register?
It is another topic also when we come with discuss. But for now, because you have asked, you simply before you start your business, you go to the Registrar General Department and register, whether as a sole proprietor or as a company. Then you bring photocopies of the documents to us, and then we capture you into our database. We give you an assessment. But like I'm saying, we'll come here for another, because that is a very
interesting one. So the campaign is on. Our taxes are future, and we're talking about it. I thank you very much, gentlemen, for coming. Mr. Akwesi Osei Nkrumah is a Chief Revenue Officer.
But before you
with
go,
the
let me
Ghana
make
Revenue
an
Authority.
appeal to
Yes,
Ghanaians. We don't have any other country. This is the only one that we have. We do a lot of the service to ourselves if we don't pay our taxes. And therefore, please, from now on, if you have never visited the tax office, please come. If you have tax arrears, please go and make the necessary arrangement. You talk about staff. We are working on them, and I believe
I'm curious, because you raised this. I'm told the time is up, but are we going to have mobile offices of the Ghana Revenue Authority?
It is something in
campuses
the
and all of
yes,
that?
because we want to be as close as possible to the people, and therefore it is something we are working on. In the near future we will have.
I hope the future is so close. Kwesi Bobe Ansah is the Acting Assistant Commissioner of Communications and Public Affairs, Department of the Ghana Revenue Authority. He was here with Mr. Akwesi Osei Nkrumah as the Chief Revenue Officer of the Ghana Revenue Authority. So, go pay your taxes, because our taxes represent our future. We'll be back with some more here on NewDay.
So welcome back. Of course, it's time to talk about health, your health and my health. The PSG, that's Pharmaceutical Society of Ghana, launched the Antibiotic Awareness Week. That was from 13th to 19th of November. But today we're talking about antibiotics, because there's been an alarming rate of increase in resistance. I'm sure you don't know about what I'm talking about, but they're here to discuss this with me so you get a better understanding. I'll be talking to pharmacist Kwame Pepraboite. He's the Deputy Executive Secretary for the Pharmaceutical Society of Ghana. Also, I have pharmacist Dennis Sena Awiti. He's also the Executive Secretary. Good morning, gentlemen. Good morning. So let's delve right into it. For a start, what is antibiotics? Because my viewers need to understand before we delve into their conversation.
Antibiotics. The word can be split into two. Anti and then bio or bios. The anti, as we all know, is against.
Okay.
Something that is used against something. Bio is life. So, in simple terms, antibiotics is a substance that you use against life. But to bring it down to the level for which we are discussing, it is a medicine or medication that you use to kill bacteria.
Very well.
Okay. So let me put it in that simple term. There are other disease-causing microorganisms like fungi and viruses, but we are limiting the discussion to bacteria. So antibiotics are agents used to treat bacterial infections.
Very well. But in this advent where everybody seems to think that they are a healthcare provider of some sort, we have the traditional people, we have people who just by, the fact that they took one antibiotic and it worked, and so everyone else in the community should use the same drug for the same treatment. What would you say? Because your theme was seek advice from a qualified healthcare professional before taking antibiotics. People need to understand why they should seek healthcare. So explain to us.
Okay. Like I rightly said, there are various types of bacteria.
Okay.
There are different types of bacteria, and by saying that, there are different diseases caused by the different types of bacteria. Right. And so you can't use one medicine to treat every form and type of bacterial infection. And therefore, it is the responsibility, legally and professionally, of qualified healthcare professionals to be able to tell you what type of infection you have and what type of specific treatment that is available as the best practice to be used in treatment of this infection. So it is very key and important for everyone who has to use antibiotics to first and foremost consult a qualified healthcare professional before using any type of antibiotic.
Let me come to you.
If I may add to what Reverend just said, not just the fact that you can get the right antibiotic for your treatment, but also how you take that medication has an implication. Exactly. There's a need for you to be able to understand how the drug needs to be taken. Okay. For example, some antibiotics are supposed to be taken before food, others are supposed to be taken after food. These things, when they are not really followed, can have implications for resistance. So if you seek your healthcare professional's advice, you will be able to get the opportunity to interact and understand the reason why this drug needs to be taken every 6 hours or 8 hours, with food or without food. And this is why we want to advocate for people to seek healthcare advice.
Right. So on that score, what are some of the implications or disadvantages of not seeking appropriate healthcare before starting antibiotics, not only for the person, but for Ghana as a whole?
Okay, thank you, Nana. You see, the misuse and the overuse
and the
abuse of antibiotics leads to resistance. The issue is that it's not you, the human being, who's becoming resistant to the drug, but the bacteria becomes resistant. And when that resistant bacteria, which can easily spread to Kwame, to you, and to anybody, then we are all at risk. So by one person's inability to use or to appropriately use antibiotics, he or she has created a problem for all of us, because if the person using it becomes resistant, then it is your problem. But this is the case, it is the bacteria that has become resistant. And becoming resistant, it's easy for you to spread, it.
Kwame, let's break it down. When we say resistance, what do we mean? What exactly is taking place for that resistance to happen?
All right. So microorganisms are very smart organisms. Just as human beings are smart, I believe that they are even smarter than us. So we have a drug that is supposed to kill them. But they decide by their own means to also get the opportunity to deal with the drug themselves. So you have a situation where a particular drug is being used to kill an organism. And at a point, the organism turn its form or push the drug that you are giving out, the organism is able to survive, become stronger. So the medication that you were using earlier to have managed the condition no longer works. For example, I mean, let's talk about chloroquine. Let me just shift it to antimicrobial so that you can understand. We used to have chloroquine that we used to manage malaria in this country. Now it's no longer available. The question is why? How did we come by that? Because people abused it, people used it anyhow. The malaria parasites decided or were able to have the means to deal with chloroquine. So you had to shift to a new medication, which is much more expensive, which is causing a burden on our healthcare system, because artemisinin-based combination therapies that we use now are quite expensive. So that is how we want to look at it, that the microorganism is no longer dying because of the medicines we are giving them. And now you have to give much more expensive drugs to be able to actually eliminate the same microorganism that previously you would have been able to deal with. Yes.
You see, to add to what Kwame said, you see, inherently, bacteria, when they multiply, mutate, and some will become naturally resistant. That is the way they are. However, by our actions, human actions of misuse, overuse, and abuse of antibiotics, we tend to increase the development of resistance. So what happens is that once you apply, for instance, you are supposed to use 500 milligram, a particular dosage for a particular weight, and you don't use that, you know, you need the dosage, the frequency, and then the duration, these three, to combine to have an effective treatment. Okay. And so if you are supposed to use 500 milligram of a particular antibiotic for a particular weight, okay, which a qualified healthcare professional will be in the best position to tell you and advise you on, and you use 250, what happens is that you've used a lower dose. And so it's like you want to kill an organism, and you are supposed to kill it with probably a knife, and you use a blade, say a dog. What will happen is that
they will get aggressive.
Yes, because you were not able to kill it. And then because you have applied that pressure to kill it, the intent is still the same. even though you are using a less effective weapon, what will happen is that it will become protective of itself and become aggressive to prevent you from probably using the right. And so it builds an inward resistance and outward resistance against you coming with a better weapon. And so this time you may come with probably a knife, but you'll not be able to. And so it becomes very difficult for you to even, so you probably will need something higher. And the higher is not there.
Yeah. On that final score, that brings to mind those who are, you know, they go to the pharmacy or they go to the hospital, all right, but they're giving a dosage and they don't follow through because I took 2 days now, you know, to it. They think they're well. So it means they are also creating resistance for us as a country. And what would you pharmacists do for them? Because they come and we tell them, but they go home and they do what they want.
Thank you. I think it's not only for pharmacists, but because I'm representing pharmacists, I speak for pharmacists. I think it's important that as pharmacists, and we, amongst ourselves, we have platforms, regional, nationwide, we have websites, so for us, we are trying inwardly to internally educate our members. And they are the ones that are even championing this antibiotic awareness. So it's important that we ourselves lead the fight and also educate other healthcare professionals who may not be doing it appropriately. You see, when patients come to ask for antibiotics, you don't need to give them antibiotics if they don't need antibiotics. You understand? So you use that opportunity to educate them. And probably if you want to make some money, find something nice for them. And then we will all be happy, and then they go away.
Very well. So you heard it from us here on New Day. For those of you who give your doctors pressure to give you antibiotics, if they educate you that you don't need it, just bear with them and understand that it's not everything that is treated with antibiotics. So we are fighting against antibiotic resistance. Here you heard it from Reverend Dennis Sena Awiti. He's the Executive Secretary of the Pharmaceutical Society of Ghana, as well as Kwame Peprabwaite, the Deputy Executive Secretary. We have more for you here on New Day. Stay with us.
Okay, so this is a very wonderful song from Kwame Eugene, and you saw him last Sunday at the GMB finale. Well, they say tell a lie in vision, that's television. If you knew what was happening here with Brighton, Amma, you'll be very excited. You're reading sermons, but on to some of your messages. Aziz Donline says TV3 and the entire crew of GMB is the best when it comes to real news, real entertainment, and proper education. Says Johnny, I'm proud of you for the hard work, maturity being shown for the 13 weeks. In fact, I'm perplexed. Really? Okay. Indeed, congratulations to Zainab for winning the prestigious pageant. She really deserves it. If she was not declared winner, I would have petitioned the results at the Supreme Court for interpretation, as is done. Okay, GPS. Is it because Baumia and the communication team are ignorant or 419, as JM told, or they lack ideas? CDG strongly argued that the system is a scam, only to watch the Deputy Communication Minister's lament. Incompetent Baumia does himself the service by insulting President JDM. Now coming back to SHS, look at the terrible way our schools have started. Yet we have another clueless holo head. Okay, really, this is not fine. We don't encourage insults. Johnny, why are politicians so wicked like that? Communicators are always trying to defend what is wrong, even to the eyes of the ordinary Ghanaians, because government virtually allowed those who were not even qualified to enter. There should have been a cut-down range for the great to enter. Justice Azuma inside Ayopia and Bongo. Good morning, Bright, please. People thought some NDC Ghanaians were wicked and didn't like the MPP to implement the free senior high school. But the reality is that the NDC had a vision to transform every sector and other to prevent the problems this free senior high school is facing. How many months now since the rushed implementation of a policy and is already facing challenges? We are even heading for for the West since the policy is already in shambles. I only pray to get money somewhere to pay grants for these distressed schools, or else Ghanaians will never spare them. Willie Morgan from Bolga. Alasan Wanaiwa says, good morning to you and your panelists. So far, so good. A free SHS education policy is a clear demonstration that Nana Ndodankwe Akufo-Addo and the MPP government is committed to alleviating the plight of suffering Ghanaians. Good morning, family. My concern about the free SHS is that the government was blown away by Ghanaians when they accepted the policy, forgetting that they will meet challenges. My advice to Nanado is that there be a great cutoff to qualify students into the scheme. Okay, and it says that government officials should stop painting the picture as if all is well with the policy. We, the people of Chifo, Ati, Mokwa constituency, are still reminding the president we have the worst road in the world and we lack real development projects. If nothing is done about it, we'll advise ourselves. Okay, we thank you very much. But we got to go. We thank you. Yes, we thank you for tuning in. Let's see if Tilapia has something for us so we can check out. Yes, Tilapia always has something up. Okay, Tilapia has not put up something yet, but we've got to go. We thank you very much.
It's time because after Tales people will be wishing us away by now.
Okay, I mean, it's Tuesday, huh?
So it's buying pizza.
Yeah, it's pizza.
So come and join us. When Bride buys, we chop. That's all we do.
Huh?
We'll see. When Bride buys, then we chop.
Okay.
Okay, all right.
That's it. When he bites.
Keep chopping.
When he buys.
Buys. Or okay.
Well, you see, Johnny wants to hear something.
No, you keep.
But I refuse to let him hear.
I mean,
anyway,
there's always a payback time, so you keep chopping.
Anyway, guys, so we'll see you same time tomorrow, 6 to 9. We'll be here on the screen, the three of us, as usual.
All right, be good.